Welcome to Business Smarts Radio with Tom and Dr. Dave, the clean approach to building your successful business. Now, let's introduce Tom Borg and Dr. Dave Miles. Welcome to Business Smarts Radio with Tom and Dr. Dave, where we bring you the clean approach to building your successful business. And when I mean clean, we're not talking about spigot, and span, and dust mops. This podcast is all about the acronym CLEAN. So we bring you things dealing with communication, leadership, engagement.
And no drama.
Absolutely, and no drama. So today's episode, we're going to talk about how to get to know and understand the people that are on your team better. Great ideas. Some of the times we have a little bit of hard time really getting to engage and know, hey, Bill, hey, Joe, hey, Sue, hey, Karen, how you doing? Oh, great. Really light, just kind of coffee talk, real brief. You say hi, you might know a little bit about them, but really, are you able to know your team better, engage with them better, and really be able to connect on a little bit deeper level, so that way you can really get the most out of your team and get the most out of working on a team. And so today, Tom, tell us a little bit about some different ways. It might be unique, maybe a little bit different, and maybe not all necessarily appropriate in every situation, but some ideas that the listeners can take back to really get to know and understand their team better.
Sure, Dave. Certainly one of the things most business owners want to have is some type of a dividing line between their position, who they are, and their employees. They don't want to get too close. Understand that. Question is, what can we do as a business owner or a manager to develop that trust and rapport? Help that person feel like they're really part of a family, a business family. And one of the things we talked about earlier in our preparation for our program today is some of the things a business owner or his team can do to create that kind of atmosphere. So one of the best things I can think of is just get to know that person more on an individual basis. What kind of family do they have? What are they proud of that's back home? I mean, what are some of their hobbies? What can we do to get to know more about that individual? And that can come through some simple questions over a cup of coffee. Like what's one of their children's names? What are their activities that they're involved in? Getting to know the people on a more personal basis just helps open up more trust and rapport within an organization. So that's one of the first places to start. Now, something else I'd like to mention, some kind of different approaches, is if you got a team of people, why not take them out to a ball game? Or take them out to breakfast. With 2 or 3 people. You don't have to take your whole team, but take 2 or 3 people at a time. But just have some one-on-one or one-on-two time with them and start to develop that opportunity where they can open up a little bit. You can open up a little bit about who you are as human beings. And this starts to create this bond. This really starts to create a connection. And that's what people are looking for. One of the things they're looking for in today's workplace is to feel connected to the organization, to feel that they really are part of an organization that they belong to.
No, I would agree with that. And like you mentioned, that there's a lot of folks, because maybe they're very analytical, maybe just, or just they're very driven in their approach. And like you said, they don't have time for the people end of it, or maybe they've got burned before. So maybe it's one of those things that, the farther away I can keep somebody, if worst case scenario, I've got to discipline or I have to fire them, I'm not emotionally attached, and I'm not going to be very objective in what I have to do. And a lot of times you have to separate the behavior from the individual. When you're reprimanding behavior, you're not telling the person they're a bad person. The behavior is not acceptable or not appropriate at that particular time. And so obviously we say this with the preface of, you have to make sure and obviously follow your HR guidelines, but it's the same thing between meeting at a conference table at 11 o'clock in the morning for a business meeting, very formal, versus meeting after hours for something that's more social, maybe like a chamber event or something. And think of those two contrasts. And that's really what we're talking about. What can you do from on one end to make a more social environment that you're not going to sit there with a list of, where do you grow up? Where do you go to church? What do your dogs say? And then going down like that, that's certainly not what we're talking about. We're talking about really like I said, being genuinely interested in the person and really
Hmm.
connecting, so you do
Hmm.
get to know them better. One of the things that I do like, even from just a purely professional standpoint, and there are some larger companies and some smaller companies are starting to get on the bandwagon and do this, is doing your one-on-ones, doing your annual evals a little bit more frequently than annually. I know American Woodmark is just starting to get to the point where they're enacting a lot of the things you hear from David Barkus and a lot of the different people that are out there that are really advocating that people need feedback, especially millennials,
Hmm.
but everybody needs feedback a little bit more often than just one time a year.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely.
And so the more you can, even on a formal basis, just do those check-ins once a month, once every other week, just some kind of
Hmm.
small check-in all the way around. Even that is going to break the tension and get where you get to know your employee a lot more, even beyond the social. But you had a lot of other ideas as far as just on the small groups or teams that
Hmm.
you could do. I like the idea about the ball game or maybe doing a breakfast or a lunch that's
Sure.
outside of the office. But what else? What other ideas did you
Sure. Well,
have?
Dave, just to mention something on that last comment you made earlier, and that is, yes, by spending time with them, a couple moments here, a couple moments there, and doing that informal type of feedback, kind of a way of keeping in touch with them on the goals that they've set, that they're looking at working on over the course of a year. Yes, that could be a great time to just bring up some of the casual questions you could have. And there's nothing wrong with having a list. Just don't make it sound like a list. But yeah, what about what's the name of their dog? Where do they go to high school? Where do they go to college? They went to college. So to have that type of information in your mind after you've had a chat with them, just getting bits and pieces as you go. That's great. That's a great way to build that rapport. Now, some other things could be, how about this? Say, hey, listen, I coach my son's soccer team. Would you like to come out sometime to practice with us and help out? This is a great way to find out how this person is outside of work, and it gives them a chance to maybe shine a little bit in their ability to coach a youngster or two. So that's different. Okay, that's
Yeah.
different. That's not like your normal situation. Something else you could ask them to do is say, hey, how about this? As a team, we're going to head down to the soup kitchen next Christmas morning. Who wants to go?
Right.
Okay. Or it could be a Saturday morning. It doesn't have to be a holiday. But the fact is, to get them outside of their comfort zone with your team or two or three of people that want to go down there together. And now we're experiencing something completely different. And this is where bonds start to be created, because when we start to do things outside our comfort zone with other people who have not done it before either, they're team members, it creates a unique experience. And you know what, when they come back from that soup kitchen, they're going to be just that much closer because they've experienced something that it has expanded their comfort zone, and they've done it together. So that's a couple of things that we can do. What are some other things you can think of, Dave, that we could suggest to our listeners today?
Well, I like to look at a couple things. I wanted to, like I said, go back and comment on one.
Hmm.
One, always be
Hmm.
cautious on how you come across, because a lot of times we're talking in the
Mm.
context, you and I are talking in the context, of course, of you generally want to get to know the person. You really want to kind of create that bond so you can really just enjoy working together, be more productive, and really be able to get a great cohesive team that works together. Fantastic.
Hmm.
Couple of cautionary points. You don't want to come across as, hey, come out and I expect now what you say and what they hear and read into it sometimes can
Hmm.
be different. So for example,
Hmm.
you invite them out to, help out with the soccer team. You're looking at it as there's a couple of things. One, social end of it, but it's also this is a developmental opportunity because if you can really dig in and look at coaching kids, how
Mm.
much better
Good
are
point.
you going to be able to coach and develop your team? And that might put you in a good spot to be able to,
Hmm.
it's almost like a leadership development training to be able to
Sure.
move up. But saying
Absolutely.
that, you don't want to come across where people hear, oh, the boss asked me to do this, so I guess I'm expected to do it. So almost like a pressure thing or something to where
Right.
it's like they're forced to because when the boss asks, I can't say no. Not the
Right.
not the
So it'd be
case.
more of an invitation. Yeah, more of an
Yeah.
invitation, not a command, so to speak.
Right, well, right, and you
Hmm.
had to be much more expressive and deliberate about that because you could ask a question, and I heard John Maxwell talk about this before. I've heard Marshall Goldsmith talk about this before. Well, they meet with and they work with a lot of really high level people, And for example, I think it was Marshall Goldsmith that was talking about meeting with and because they're doing a lot of work with some 4-star admirals. Well, guess what? Anything that the 4-star admiral suggests or says or whatever, it's an order. There is no, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
boy.
There is no I think or I should or how you and I are talking about it, meaning it coming from that high level. There is no if you want to. It's people look at it as an order, as a command. So you just have to be very cognizant of that. But saying that, one thing I did love is when you talk about maybe going to the soup kitchen or maybe having everybody that's there on a voluntary basis work on a habitat build. And if you don't want it to be voluntary, here's the thought. There is some impact to the business. So you have to look at that revenue and where you can maybe bring part-timers in or where you can do something there. And you may not be able to, but let's just say for argument's sake, there's a holiday or there's something. We're going to take this day or weekend and say, look, we're going to make this a work day. And you can do it 2 ways. You can voluntarily sign up. We're going to come to the soup kitchen. We're going to come to a habitat build. We're going to do something like that, which I think that's an outstanding way to do team building and really get to know people and do something great in the community as a local habitat build, volunteering for that. But if you really want everybody to do that because you are doing it as more of a true team building thing, then consider maybe doing it on a regular work day. And then this is going to be tough, possible, but you know what? You let your customers know we are taking the day off to serve our community. It's going to be an interruption. Maybe once a year, twice a year, but it's something to where you're not just closing down business, but you're letting people know that you're working on team building, but you're giving back to the community as well. Just a thought.
That's right. Well, remember, that's one of the main things that people are talking about today. People want to feel, a lot of the younger generation, the millennials or the generation Zs, they want to get in there and they want to know that the company is actually standing for something, that they have a purpose and that they want to, they're environmentally friendly, that they want to give back to the community. They want to feel that their organization is trying to make a difference in the world in a positive way, and people respond to that. A lot of our employees want to be part of that movement, and that gives them an opportunity to fulfill that purpose inside that they'd like to see expressed.
Exactly.
So
while still being
very well,
and still being respectful to some of the older Gen X and baby boomers that are like, I want to really connect with my team, but I come in, I do my job, and I have obligations afterwards. So there's ways where I might not be able to come out on a night or a weekend, but it's just a consideration to maybe take a weekday and make this into a community day.
Absolutely.
Work if
or
that's
even a half a day.
A half a day. Correct. If that's even possible. But a couple of things that you had mentioned about that I'd really liked when we were prepping is taking this and looking at, all right, where can I get a mentor? If I'm, millennial or younger, even a younger Gen X or Gen Z, if I'm looking at, all right, I'm in my mid 30s, early 40s, where can I look at? I might be in a management position, but I'm looking at one of those senior executives and maybe get them as a mentor, and where can I invite them to coffee or lunch, and I can really try to build that relationship to really try to learn and grow myself. The other thing is when you're a business owner, think about the idea of reverse mentorships. And what I mean by that is taking some of your baby boomers or maybe your older Gen Xers that aren't as just native with this technology and help connect them with some of your newer employees, maybe like you said, your Gen Z or your millennials, and do like a reverse thing with helping them with the technology. Just coach them on the iPhone or the iPad that you just issued this guy, or some different software that he might not be or she might not be utilizing quite to the same extent because they're just not as familiar with it. They weren't weaned on it. They didn't sit there in the crib with a telephone and with an iPad and with a tablet, and so they haven't grown up with it, and so they remember seeing this technology coming up and being new and having to come back and learn it, and that being a learning curve. It's not as much of a learning curve with the younger people. So do like even think about a reverse mentorship where you can actually help engage and connect people on a little bit more personal level. Yeah, it's not for the whole team, but it's a great way to really think about connecting folks in your organization and working together.
Absolutely. And Dave, younger generations love to help the older generations. Remember, we need everybody in that workplace. It's not you against them, it's us together. So yes, there serves a purpose because the younger generations want to be able be important. They want to be able to help the older generations and vice versa. So then you get this mutual exchange of energy, so people feel needed and also feel that they can learn from each other as well. So that's a powerful strategy to build that type of engagement within your organization. You bet.
I think so. And I think one of the last things that I
Mm-hmm.
would probably throw out there is find some kind of
Mm-hmm.
tool, and it doesn't matter where you find it, but find some kind of tool where you can learn more about how your team that you work with and your direct reports and the people that you work with on your same
Mm-hmm.
team, your colleagues, how they communicate, what really kind of motivates and drives them, but also what really is a great way to approach them, because not everybody's the same.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like the,
No.
hey, Joe, how's the wife and kids? How was the soccer game? How was whatever? Some people are just the, just give me the facts, the bullet points. I don't want to be bothered. Let's go. And how do you kind of get everybody to bridge that gap? And how do you, on your
Mm-hmm.
own, take the time to be empathetic to other people, genuinely concerned, and kind of meet them at the middle where they're at and really try to communicate with
Mm-hmm.
them, like you said in one of our episodes, more the platinum rule. Instead of communicate how I want to be
Yes,
communicated with, communicate with them how they want to be communicated with. It
that's
takes a little
right.
bit of work, takes a little bit of effort, not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a business owner, if you're a manager, if you're an executive, and you can really get that dialed in with your team. So when you're meeting with all your direct reports on a one-on-one basis, not necessarily the team, you can really hone in that communication or realize in a
Mm-hmm.
broader sense, what are some things you can do with your team? Like you're calling a meeting, you have an agenda for your folks that need a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more time to process your, say, your high S's on a disc profile. Maybe I send the agenda out a couple days before. Maybe I do a
Mm-hmm.
few things that aren't in my comfort zone, but I know that it would
Mm-hmm.
really help engage my team and it makes them feel better and they can come a little bit more prepared, and just putting it together, just a couple of different strategies. But I would take the time, no matter what tools you use, no matter what you have, I would take that little bit of time, if you can, as a business owner or executive, to really kind of learn that little extra depth on your teammates.
Sure.
I think it'll make all the
It's
difference.
absolutely. And remember, our team members are very valuable. They're a very integral part of our organization. And when they leave, it's expensive. So
Yes.
let's keep those people on board. Let's train them. Let's get them up to speed. But at the same time, let's do what we can, as you said, to get out of our own comfort zones, to really connect with them and help them feel part of an organization that's going places.
Absolutely. We talk about clean at the beginning of every podcast, and here's where it really
Yeah.
relates. You talk about engagement. The more we can engage
Mm-hmm.
our employees, the better their employee engagement scores, the more productive that they are. And remember, engagement is giving just that little bit extra that you don't have to. You get
Mm-hmm.
20 people in your organization, everybody's giving just 5% more. That's it. Not a lot, not
That's right.
10,
That's
20,
all
30,
you need.
just 5% more. Just a little bit. Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
For 20 people, that's another full-time equivalent you don't have to hire.
There you go.
And you know what?
Great example.
When you've got full unemployment, is technically they look at it at 4% unemployment or less. When here at the country we're at what, 3.5%
Mm.
unemployment, and I know here in my local region we're like 2.5, 2.8. I mean, it's
See?
crazy. You
Wow.
don't have people just growing on trees you can just grab. I mean, you don't have people 50 deep lined up. Well, I'll get rid of you. I got 49 more waiting for that job. You don't have that anymore. So the better you can keep them
Mm-hmm.
engaged, you're having a hard time, and you have an engaged workforce. They're a lot more productive. You don't necessarily need quite as many people because people are really giving you everything that they have. Plus, like you said, turnover is expensive. A highly engaged workforce
Mm-hmm.
is
That's
less
right.
turnover. There's not the people out there to replace them, and you don't have to go through that expense. So all together, it's just a
That's right.
win all the way around. Great for the employees. It's a better
That's
place,
right.
more enjoyable place to work, and better for you as a business owner, and even better for your CPA or your CFO. There's some bottom line results that even they can sign on and be happy with.
That's right.
So is there anything else you can think of,
All
Tom,
right.
as we conclude the episode on how
Well,
to
just that
understand and know your people team better?
I would encourage our listeners to go out and try some of these suggestions that we have. Just try one of them and see what happens. Evaluate the results that you get, and if you get good results, keep on using them. If you need to tweak it a bit, tweak it. But please go out there and use at least one of these ideas. I think you'll be on your way to doing something really special for your company or organization.
Cool. Sounds great. And I would recommend that anybody, if you go out and use one, let us know about it. Shoot us an
Yeah,
email, put it in the
sure.
comments, and engage with us. We'd love to hear how it turned
Yes,
out, good, bad, or indifferent. Maybe we can give some hints or tips or share some successes with some of the other listeners. That would be fantastic.
that's a
If you have
great
any
idea.
if you have any
Absolutely.
questions or things that you'd like to see us cover in the podcast, shoot us a line, put it in the comments, respond. We would love to hear that from you so we can actually, create some more content that would really be helpful for you. But beyond that, thank you guys for listening to Business Smarts Radio with Tom and Dr. Dave, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care.